I'd like to call this meeting to order. Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Elick?
Here.
Ms. Karstafen?
Here.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mr. Brubaker?
Here.
And Mr. Gebhardt?
Here.
Would everybody please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the June 2nd, 2019 school board meeting. I'd like to introduce our group up here. To my right is board member Kevin Brubaker. To his right is board member Jim Bax. I'm Greg Elick. To my left is board member Annie Karstafen. To her left is board member Mike Gebhardt. To his left is our superintendent, Ann Slosh. And to her left is our award-winning treasurer, Joy Clickinger. Okay, moving along on the agenda, we have some very, very special recognition today. Madam Superintendent, do we have recognition today?
Yes, we do, and I'm going to invite Mrs. Higgins up, along with Heather Beck, our athletic director.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. We're so excited tonight to welcome some of our amazing coaches and amazing athletes. And tonight's recognition relates to our teams and athletes that made it to the state level. It's really exciting, and I always feel so proud to get to introduce you guys, because really, I don't think there's anybody in this room or anybody who would be watching that could deny that our athletic program and the coaches and the student athletes are the elite. They're just fantastic people in general, and their athletic prowess and just the individuals that they are, the models that they are, role models for other students. It's just impeccable. And yes, absolutely. Makes us very proud. And so tonight, I wanted to welcome a couple. I do want to say we have some. The track team isn't here. We do have certificates. We have lots of certificates here at the table. A lot of athletes and coaches are already involved in other activities this summer, and they were not able to be here, and so we truly appreciate those that were able to come tanight. So I wanted to start tonight with our softball team, and quite appropriately, I see Mr. Rigda in the audience, and I wanted to just say that he used to joke that he always knew it was spring when he would see the ponytails bopping past his window to run out to the field. And that still hasn't changed, and it's just been such a joy to have the softball team out here on this campus, and it's just a lot of fun. So Coach Fennick, what you've done, your coaching staff with the team, and this many season after season after season of just amazing play. It's just been a blast to follow. This year, the softball team went 24-6, and all the way to the Final Four. Would you come up here, Coach Fennick? They've got the T-shirts to prove it.
All right.
Aw. Well, we have a certificate for you. Heather's going to give you that, and it hardly seems enough, but anyway, we want to thank you for just so much fun and the exhilaration of the season, and again, season after season. And I know you've got team members here. I wanted to ask you to please call them up individually. We have certificates, and then if everybody could please come up to the board table to be congratulated, we'd really appreciate that. So would you like to say a few words?
I would just like to say you're not successful by yourself. Through the years, I've had great girls from Elyria. They do what they're asked to do. They're super in the classroom. They're good people. A lot of them work with younger kids in the city. So, I mean, it just doesn't, it won't just happen. I mean, you need sometimes give them a little kick, but it's been a lot of fun through the years. And this group especially, I'm really going to miss. So let's start with our senior, our lone senior, Demaya Parks.
Nice job.
Congratulations.
Good luck. Congratulations.
Okay, our next player was actually our pitcher, Izzy St. Peter, if you'd come up. Mallory Ferris.
Next year.
Get a picture. Macy Godbolt. Macy, in addition to, was named first team All-Ohio, so that's a heck of an accomplishment. Madison Olszewski. She was also a pitcher for us this year, did a nice job. Adrian Patrisco.
Great job.
Congratulations.
Great job.
Okay, next person is Molly Fennick.
Congratulations, good job.
Cortland Jameson.
Congratulations.
Cassidy Scott. Maya St. Peter.
Congratulations.
And last but not least, I like to call her my go girl now because every time she does something good or someone else, she always yells, "Let's go!" Jessica Chapman.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And again, we'd like to thank everybody that came to our games. We had a ton of people there. So, what I? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot my assistant coach, Coach Wallace. You see why I need people around me, because I make several mistakes.
It's unforgettable.
Congratulations.
Table. Yeah.
You gonna get a picture?
With the board? All right. Make us look good, guys.
Behind you?
Sure. Intermix, yeah.
That's cool.
Intermix.
Should we sit down and get out of the way, or?
Who would like to be seated? Come on, sit down. Come on. Wait, where's Fennick? Yeah. I heard Fennick was me for a day, huh? We sitting or standing? Oh, we're sitting.
Sitting, so they
We're
can
sitting,
see us.
Joy. We're sitting.
Everybody in.
Squeeze together, though.
Squeeze. We shall. Maybe not.
Am I in it? Are we opening?
They're not squeezing.
Yeah, open them up. Make us look good. Come here, us. Third base.
You want to look like yourself. You want to look like we're part of the board.
There you
All
go.
right, everybody, look this way.
Jeez.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Way to go.
Way to go. Thank you. Is that his name? Yes. Okay. She was on me.
Shoulders about the same.
Her and her sister.
All right. And, gosh, another one. Wrestling.
It was incredible.
Eric Burnett and his team. It's just one season after another of just incredible thrills and just incredible sportsmanship. I can never tell coming or going which event you're in from one weekend to the next, because you're in individuals and you're in duels and you're in team competitions and all these. You guys are just nonstop, but amazing advocates for Elyria schools and ambassadors of Elyria schools, and thank you for the thrills. We particularly wanted to recognize Eric as head coach. Have you please come up here. Elyria Wrestling was named the Greater Cleveland Conference champions. The team placed 4th in the team state duels, finished 3rd at state with 9 placers and 2 state champs, and just truly fantastic. So, Eric, congratulations.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you to the board and to everyone for having us in tonight. Like Coach Fennick was saying, you know, good things, big things don't happen without amazing support. We've had amazing support from our district, from our community, from our families. You know, not just parents, but siblings. Everybody's involved. We have a great support network backing us, whether it's individual sponsors or just people that are wanting to step up and help us out. And, you know, without that, you just can't do what these kids have been doing. We had a unique group this year. The way the kids came together after having a kind of a rough start to the season, you know, our kids decided that, you know, they knew that they could get it done with the personnel that we had. And it was impressive to watch. I had a first-hand view. I had the best seat in the house, and I really saw an amazing transformation this year in our group. You know, finishing 3rd in the state was one of those situations where, you know, the 2 teams that finished ahead of us were nationally ranked. I think 7th and 8th, something like that. We finished ranked maybe 20th in the country, and, you know, yet we were 3rd in the state. So that in the individual tournament. So we considered it a great season. We had the most state placers we've ever had. We took 9 guys down. We had a 9-0 first round at the state tournament. We've never done that before. I had a lot of excitement and fun this year in that I had some amazing seniors that have been with us for a long time. I've had the opportunity to train some of these guys since they were in 2nd to 3rd grade, and then I had both my sons with me this year as well, which really made it special. So once again, you can't do it. You know, we have coaches that couldn't be here tonight. We have kids that couldn't be here tonight. Several of our guys are at a training camp in Toledo. They're getting ready for a national event. You know, so unfortunately they're not here, but it's not because they're, you know, not working. They're training. But like I said, I'd like to extend a thank you from them as well. The students we do have here tonight, Dylan Hendricks. He was one of our key guys as far as making it to the state duels. Duels are different from individual events. You have to have, you need to have your full lineup. You have to have somebody at every weight class. And he was played a key role. Drew Levis.
Oh, I'm just gonna stay.
One of the kids I've been coaching since he was in 3rd grade, and he had an amazing season, placing 3rd in the state this year. And he's also over a 4-point student. He's going to Baldwin Wallace next fall, and he plans on continuing his wrestling career. You majoring in engineering? Majoring in engineering as well. And then my son Nathan Burnett was a freshman this year. Nathan was 5th in the state at the individual state tournament, and had a great year of learning.
Congratulations.
And we just had a blast this year. So, like I said, thank you to Heather Beck, and thanks to an amazing school district, an amazing community, and an amazing board. Thank you.
Do another picture if that's okay, real
Sure.
quick.
Where do you want us?
Same spot.
Same spot.
I've got everybody in. All right, everybody.
Just look at the camera, Jim.
Smile. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thanks, guys.
No, thank you.
Very good. As you. Good job, Coach. Congratulations, Coach.
Wow, you're getting it from both sides.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming.
And I did want to mention.
Heather, where you going?
I did want to mention, even though they're not here, our boys track team boys track program coached by Jerry Chismar and Tony Brown. It was just a fantastic season. Sent 2 relay teams to the state. They finished 4th and 9th, and had an All-Ohio athlete who just competed in the Team Ohio Midwest Meet of Champions at Michigan State. Just really a thrilling year for Elyria Athletics. We have certificates for them as well, and I know Heather will make sure they get those. And then while it wasn't a state record, or a state competition, Mr. Brown pointed out to me that we also had an Elyria High School record-setting diver in Angela Cagle, who graduated just this past weekend. So just fantastic.
Super, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, wonderful. Thank you, Mrs. Higgins. Ms. Beck, thanks for sharing the successes of these student athletes with us, and what wonderful programs they're running and developing wonderful young men and women. So that's outstanding. Thank you. Okay, moving along on the agenda. We have no visitors today, so we'll move along to board member discussion items. Any board member discussion items today? With none, let's move along to the minutes. The minutes have been posted for, let me see, which meeting is it here?
There's 2 meetings in there.
For the 2 meetings that
May
didn't hit
15th
my
and
agenda.
May 15th and May 30th.
Okay, the minutes for the May 15th and May 30th meetings have been posted. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Board Member Gebhardt and a second by Board Member Hoffman. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Treasurer action items. Madam Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first item on my agenda for this evening are donations. It's to acknowledge and express appreciation for the following donations. We have a donation from First Choice Photography, Mr. and Mrs. William Bird, Local 2000 UAW, Invacare, Mrs. Debbie Meredith, Miss Anita Green, and the Elyria Kiwanis Club. Second, we have the Ohio Schools Council agreement, and this is to approve the Board of Education to enter into an agreement with the OSC to accept and collect the debt of bottom line auctions owed to the Elyria City Schools as detailed in the enclosure. This is basically, they are making us whole and assuming the debt for us, and they'll do the collections. The next item on the agenda is to approve the board insurance rates effective July 1st, and the COBRA rates. These rates, the medical and prescription drug went up 12% each. The dental and vision stayed the same.
Okay.
And those are the items I have this evening.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Do I have a motion to approve the treasurer action items?
So moved.
A motion by Board Member Brubaker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Bax. Any questions or comments?
When you say the board rates for this, what do you mean by that?
Well, the board pays,
Oh, okay. That answers it.
okay.
All right.
Okay. Other questions? None. With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, Treasurer, other items today.
Yes, just one more item. This is to approve the resolution directing the board president and treasurer to sign the easement agreement that was detailed in your agenda.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the easement agreement?
So moved.
A motion by Board Member Gebhardt. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second by Board Member Karstafen. Any questions? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, any other item reports today, Madam Treasurer?
Not this evening, no. thank
Okay,
you.
great, thank you. Okay, moving along on the agenda to the OFCC. We have a very interesting report today from our friend Mr. Rigda. Mr. Rigda, would you come forward? And looking forward to hearing an update on our construction.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, and hello, board. It's been a while since I've sat in front of you. Is this on okay? You can hear me okay?
I believe so.
You need
Okay.
to get it closer, though, so the camera will pick it up. Thank you.
How's that?
Good.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, this is great. I think the last time I spoke with you, there was a lot of theory, and trust me, there really is something going on there, even though you couldn't see it. And that's the nature, I guess, of construction. So when I was asked to come today, I actually had to make notes as far as how many things are going on and how exciting it is at each one of the sites. And it's great to have that opportunity to do that. I'd like to stick to my notes, so excuse me if I look down instead of at you each time, because I don't want to forget any of these, and they're so technical that I could have overlooked them. You see at least Ely and Northwood. If you're driving in the area, you see walls and get very excited about that. You should be keeping your eyes on the road, actually. But if you want to glance over there, you can see, oh, they got another wall. I can see they put a roof on. I see there's some steel over there and that kind of thing. And that's exactly what's happening. So let's kind of go in order here of how I see that the work is getting completed. Ely, Northwood, and Hamilton are still on schedule and slightly ahead of schedule now, even with the bad weather. The contractors have come together. In particular, I'd like to do a shout out to the mason groups in these buildings, because nothing can happen until a lot of that concrete is poured and the blocks go up. And the plumbers, the electricians, carpenters, the steel people, everybody has to follow them. And from what I understand, they've brought on some extra workers so they could move even more quickly, which means your plumbing gets ahead, your electrical can get done, and some things that are very critical. The slab on grade is nearly complete in all of Ely. Cafeteria and the gym are the only two areas that remain, and the cafeteria is being done this week if it's not already done, and the gym's to follow. The slab, of course, would be the underlayment, the floor, in plain English, before the upper surface, and that's really a great piece of progress. The bearing walls are in progress. Bearing walls, for anyone listening to this, versus non-bearing walls, if you have a house, you understand that. You shouldn't fool with a bearing wall. It's holding up what's above it, and those are critical, and those are nearly done as well. Once the masons are done with that, they're going to split themselves at Ely. They're far enough ahead where they want to start doing the veneer brick. So you'll not only see a wall going up, but you'll actually see the brick and the face of the brick. And because they're moving quickly, they did a mock-up. And it's out there at Ely now. So I believe it's going to be approved. From what I understand today, the colors are right, the structure is correct. If you happen to see it yourself, there's this one slight alteration. There's tan above the window, and it'll be in a full strip, as you're going to see on this piece, on this rendering over here. They only had, I guess, a half a dozen. They didn't want to delay the tan bricks, so they put them in soldier course, and they're vertical. So in the event that you should see that, that's not how it's going to look. The architects approved that because the color is correct, the spacing is correct, and it's a technical piece on that. But that's exciting once you start seeing brickwork going up on a wall. All the underground plumbing is already complete. They call it chasing. The plumbers now don't have any below ground work, they only have above ground work, so they chase the masons, it's called. As the masons put up the bearing walls, they put the plumbing in the walls where they'll be located. They don't run the plumbing ordinarily in the non-bearing walls, because those walls can be moved later on. And it's the same way for the electricians. They're doing the same. The steel has been completed. If you've seen the cranes out there, you saw a couple of pictures, I think, that were in the paper, and we circulated a few to you directly. There's completed in the cafeteria and the gym, and they're moving on to other areas. Approximately half the roof is on at Ely. Why is that important? That's so you can do interior work, because once it's dry, they can go ahead and start doing some things inside, and they don't have to worry about the water coming in. It's all pretty exciting. They're actually going up now where the roof is complete, and that's approximately half the building. And they're moving along with gutters and drains so that the water drains properly off that site. So obviously Ely is well on its way. Northwood, a much larger campus, over 2.5 times probably the size. A very important step there is they have the base course of the asphalt ring that goes around the entire area. Before now, it's been a mud hole. and the trucks have a hard time getting around. Contractors and subs have a hard time getting around. If you're out there, you'll have a hard time. Now the ring is in, and that means everybody can move quickly and cleaner. You don't have that mud dragging around. They can get to the different areas. The windstream pole at the entrance continues to be a problem. It's not a problem without resolution, but it's a slow move. Maybe 6 months, which takes us into the winter, and we don't think that's a good thing. We keep working on that. Sean Murphy, who's overseeing all the projects as project manager, is trying to do what he can with Windstream, but it's not easy. It's not an easy task, and we'll see what we can do with that. We're not sure where to turn for help. We have asked the city if they had any inroads, and they kind of laughed and said, no, that it's a time-consuming, a little bit frustrating idea when you're dealing with some of the entities, not only Windstream, but I'm sure other that provide services. The masonry grade is complete. The slabs are on grade. They're nearly all complete. Nearly all the plumbing is complete along the underside, and again where the bearing walls are going up, and the roof drains are going in there as well. Steel and covers moving into place. That I already explained that. And the electrical, nearly all of it is complete at the ground level. And again, they're chasing the masons. As soon as the walls go up, they're putting all of the electrical runs that are necessary. Moving over to Hamilton, they've abandoned the electrical tunnels that were underneath the ground for the old Hamilton School. They had some tunnels that ran a lot of electrical work, and that was a bit of a job getting them all out of there. They finally got that done, and the pads are all stabilized. They had to use a stabilizer like they did with the stadium. A lot of this ground that hasn't been built on necessarily for a long time, and it had been just grass or whatnot, isn't as firm as you'd like it to be, and you don't want to wait a couple of years while they roll it out and flatten it over and over again. So they have a cement-like stabilizer, and they're working with that right now, and they've got that underway. They're doing what's called a cut and fill. That means the ground's not even, so where it's too high, they cut it, and where it's too low, they fill it in, which I thought was pretty clever, and I thought he was saying cut and fill for a long time, and I didn't know who Phil was. So no matter how long I've been doing this, I'm still learning from these guys. That's going to bring all of the area on grade. They're ensuring all the subgrade is at a proper elevation right now. The concrete foundations are going in. That building's going to go up very quickly because of its small size. They're about 2 weeks away from water and sewer line installations. They're waiting on the EPA. That's going to be about 6 weeks because they want to get approval on their storm water retention approval. You're going to see some standing water out there, and you shouldn't look at that thinking that's how that's going to look. It's just probably for the next month and a half until they can get their retention in there. The rebar arrived this week, so they're going to do the concrete footers, and they're scheduled to begin that tomorrow. After the footers are installed, you'll remember, I think the last time either I wrote to you about Northwood and Ely, I said this is progress. You're going to see it come out of the ground. And I consider those first 2 courses of block where they bring it up to grade as coming out of the ground, and that's going to follow that. So I would imagine within the next 3 weeks to 4 weeks, those first two courses are going to be coming up out of the ground. So we're scheduled for the openings on time. I was just thinking that with school out, there's only one more year of school for 4 of our schools where when they leave, they're not going back exactly to that site. So there was a time when we were talking 2 or 3 years down the road, and now it's next year. What we brought tonight that I would like to ask Ms. Schloss, our superintendent, to walk you through the renderings that have been provided by AVG for Eastern Heights. Eastern Heights, as she's walking over there, do you want me to move those, or are you going to work with them from there?
Are we in a good spot, Marty?
Can the board see them? I sent you a reference picture.
We looked at it.
You okay?
Yes.
They're going to go out for bid probably 3 weeks. And at that point, we should get a GMP probably early August. So we should have a price on this. Our estimates right now, waiting for bid, But internal estimates is that we're currently still on budget. We had to cut back a little bit here and there again, but nothing of substance that would matter or that you could see. They found some other ways to save some dollars that might carry over into other schools. But I'll let Ms. Schloss talk to you about what you're looking at and the beauty of that campus. Very large, again, and well situated on its current property south of where the school is. And I missed it. I think I put that in my note to you, but there's a little ghost area where the current school is.
Yes, we saw that.
On that drawing.
Until you said it, I didn't see it.
I completely missed it until Sean said, I said, how far south of the school is this? And he said, it's that ghost area in there. It's real light. And then
There's
you
the
see
ghost.
it. So that shows you how
Could be a
close
ghost
it
of
is.
Alec, ghost of Schloss. We've all gone through those halls, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you, Mr. Rigda. You know what, I'm going to start over here because this is probably the more beautiful picture, in my opinion, because you get to see the colors, the brilliant colors. But back in the day that Mr. Ellick and myself went to Eastern Heights, it was the Heights Knights in the nice blue. So you can see the middle school and the elementary entrance. And I do want to reiterate, the elementary entrance is off of Prospect. It will have 2 entrance and exit points, one at Cornell, if you're familiar with that, and one at Eastern Heights. So traffic flow will be great. The middle school will have one, a larger one, that will go off of Garford in the current area where the entrance is off of Garford now at Eastern Heights. So just wanted to point those out. If you come over here, just want to point a few things out real quickly is, again, we have what we call the spine of the building. We had that in the other campus, Northwood, that we showed. It goes directly down the middle, which in the spine houses things like the health clinic, the cafetorium, the 2 gymnasiums for the elementary and the middle school. That is the spine, and the spine serves another purpose, to separate the 2 buildings. So unless intentionally we want students to mix, they will not see each other for the most part. We have on this end, which is the Garford end, we have the middle school. And then on this end, which is the Prospect end, we have the elementary school. And you will see there is a courtyard at the middle school, and that is the only 2-level part. But all of this is set up again, like the Northwood campus, with 21st century learning studios, with extended learning areas, and very flexible learning. We have a maker space. We have the fine arts wings for both elementary and middle school. So a lot of exciting opportunities for students in this setup. So real quick, just wanted to go over the layout.
Great, super, thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Superintendent. That particular site had a few neighborhood encroachments on it that I have to do a shout out to your attorney, Howard Lane, who went and worked with those landowners and got a reasonable resolution to those in every case. So when we talked with the city, there were several codes that were being violated by buildings that were built a long time ago before the current codes came into play. So they said you can't really hold somebody accountable, and you, I'm sure, didn't want to do anything of eminent domain nature and whatnot. So just by discussing and working and collaborating with the public, the law firm did a great job. Howard was on top of that. And I think we should mention that. Westwood is still on the drawing board. We met for an hour and a half today. It's exciting. It looks good, very good. The thing we love about the architects is that they sit and they ask, what do you think? And there were several areas that the superintendent and others present there, Brian from the district, were able to look at it and say, what if this could be moved over here? I'm not sure I want the kids to go there, even down to the clinic. And they talked about the clinic at Northwood because it's still an interior piece. So that ability to give you what you want became very evident again today. It'll be close to Westwood current school. when it's finally constructed. Initial discussions had it closer to the ball field, the varsity ball field, and that will then go to next to the Westwood area. Thinking of softball that was here tonight, the JVs play in that area. But if you've been around as long as I have, there used to be another field, and that was on the other side of the varsity field going towards Crestwood when they had freshman, JV, and varsity. And it's more than likely that would be the best place for the relocation of the JV team, so they'll be actually playing on two fields kind of back to back like they do at the stadium now, varsity and JV side by side. That's not a given, but that's a high area of probability. That's pretty much the condition of the schools right now. It's so exciting. It's hard to take it. It's just you smile. You think this is really going to happen. Our patients have borne out that the walls are in there. The contractors are excited. It's funny how the contractors get excited. When they built the stadium, they were smiling and happy. They want to do these things because it's a remarkable feat. They're in a space that's designed just for them. And as far as what we're hearing, everybody's doing a fine job. But you have more work to do after this. It's not that you're just building schools. And I thought part of this tonight, if we could just take a few minutes, is have you given much thought? I just said you're going to leave 4 schools next year. Around this time, you're going to be out of there. What are you going to do with them? You have to start thinking about what you're going to do with them. Now, the easy answer could be, but it's a rather expensive answer, is just tear them all down. Abate them, tear them down, plant grass, and try to sell the property or whatever else you're going to do with it. But I guess I want you to understand that you have options of what you can do with those. And some of the options would work better towards your benefit, particularly towards the budget, if you didn't have to abate them and demolish them, and you could do something else with them. Traditionally, you would put them up for sale, so to speak, to charter schools. You would offer them, it's called, to charter school. They've already been appraised. The treasurer has gone out and got you formal appraisals of those properties for what they're worth. So you can ask for no more than the appraisal when you're dealing with a charter or STEM school or one of the provisions in revised code. You can take less if you want to. You don't have to. You just can't charge more. And let's face it, some of your properties are in some pretty nice areas. They're all within the city, so they're all good areas. Some of them are heavy already residential, and perhaps there's a desire for more of that. We've been talking a little bit in initial talks with the city. Do you want me to get into another option with the state?
Briefly. Briefly, you can touch on it.
There's an option 3313.40 that's called a land exchange. And this is interesting. It's not about money. It's just about the exchange of land. If you look at this drawing up here, do you see the green to the right? I'm going to walk over here. This green area is the edge of a 4-acre parcel of land that the city owns. It separates the school portion now with the rec center. That's awfully close to the school, and I think it will behoove the board to own that as a buffer for just safety and other concerns. That's city property, so if somebody's in there, you'd have to call, doing something you don't care for, you got to call the city to take action to follow up on that, where if you owned it, that's your property, and you could tell the kids they don't go in there when they're out for recess. And you still tell them that, but that's not your property anymore. They'd be leaving school grounds, and then if something should occur, whatever it is, they fall, get hurt, and they fell on the city property, not your property. It would be in your best interest, I think, if you could have that. And what this 3313.40 is a provision that you can trade a school for that, or 2 or 3. So if the city was interested in any of these properties for development, you could work a deal out with them in exchange for something as simple as that 4 acres or anything else they might have. And that's another one of your options. Beyond that, After you offer it to charter schools, there's a 60-day waiting period the minute you offer it to a charter school for them to make up their mind if they want it or not at the price you put on it, no higher than your appraisal. Then you can put it out for bid to whoever wants to build and develop it. Whoever, at whatever price you can get, no limit. But you have to go through that first step first if you go private sale, or public sale, I guess, in your case. But the 3313.40 land exchange is an option that is as powerful, because it's code in Ohio, as the charter school code, and you do not have to offer it then at that point first. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Mr. Rigda. So after we go through and offer these to charter schools, we have the option of doing whatever we want with these properties, correct?
Whatever you want.
And the properties that we have, I've received inquiries, I don't know if other board members have, about these different properties. And it seems to me that there's a lot of confusion out there on what properties are available. I was thinking, how do we make these properties available and open to potential suitors? Is this something that you would, maybe an open house, or what would you recommend to get word out there?
The best way, I think, would be to work with Mrs. Higgins and do a very public open house kind of format where you would be inviting any number of investors, developers, they could be real estate investors, small builders, bigger builders, whoever, to come and walk through the facilities to see how good they are structurally. Maybe they want to keep them because they've got something in mind for a conversion of some kind. Maybe they don't. They take them down. Every time they do that, that saves you money. So you could think about that in terms of what you're offering for price, in terms of what you would be saving. The land itself, though, is probably more of the draw than the building itself. Some of these properties sit on 9, 10, 11. Northwood's 21 acres.
Could you state for the record what properties will no longer, which schools will no longer be?
Yes, matter of fact, I wrote them down so I wouldn't even forget them here. Oakwood, Franklin, McKinley, Northwood, Prospect, and Windsor are all in the city of Elyria, and then Crestwood, of course, across the way. You currently have no plan to use any of those structures once they're vacated.
Okay.
So it's a total of 7, 6 in the city and 1 in the township.
Okay. Good. And I would assume there's not a better time than summer to be bringing people in to look at your...
You wouldn't want to wait until everybody got out and then try to start selling them. I think right now it's summer, it's building, it's warm, it's just the right time. You're going to be very, very busy a year from now. Well, you won't be, but she will be. Moving all those kids from buildings A, B, C, D over to A, B, and C. So that's probably not the best and easiest time. Plus, you're going to have these contractors chomping at the bit to do something with them. It's not a good time to show them.
Okay.
Show them while they're being used. It's like a house. Do you want to vacate it and leave it and then show it empty, or do you want to show it with furnishing? It's the same kind of idea. And then they really need to walk the properties, because every one of them, Franklin goes down by the river, Oakwood's next to the parks, we're hoping the city might see that. One's right next to the hospital. I've had a long time concern, this is a major concern of mine, and it's really not my problem. On windy days, as you all know, if you went to school there, they land their helicopters on your property. If you were to sell it to somebody, which you have the right to do, and I'm hopeful the hospital is going to come forth, or the city and the hospital, somebody on part of one of these arrangements for you, I think they need that. I think that's important for the safety of the citizens.
And they
when
have
they can't
inquired.
land on the roof.
The hospital has inquired about that.
Have they inquired?
Yes.
See, those are options you have that you wouldn't have to then open that up publicly. You wouldn't have to, because you could work with the city through 3313. Then ultimately they have their own devices and ways that they can disperse property as well.
Also, too, you talked about the first step, offering it to the charter schools within the Elyria School District.
Right.
Would it make sense to, you said that is a 60-day process that it has
That
to be
is.
available?
Right.
Would it make sense to begin that now to see what kind of interest is out there? Is there any reason to wait on something like that?
I think of only one reason, and that's to ask the city if they're interested in any of these.
Okay.
But if they are not, I would do it the next day.
Okay. Good.
So you
But there's
can't
no
do it-
sense of putting it out there and then you make a deal with the city and you upset somebody that,
Sure. That makes sense.
I would do it in that order.
Okay.
But I would hope the city would let us know soon.
Okay. And for the record, we are meeting with the city.
We are, Monday.
Next week,
Monday.
so-
They've been great.
Yes.
Council, mayor, it's been good.
Okay.
You answered my question.
Okay?
Any other questions?
One other thing about the school, Eastern Heights. Does the roadway go all the way around? Can you drive all the way
Yes.
Yeah.
from one side to the other?
And you
Yeah,
wanna
that's
show
a
'em?
stacking,
We were going to have 2 entrances, but I just learned today, that teach me to go on vacation, they closed off one of them.
it was just for service.
Oh, okay.
But this goes all the way around. It's the ring, kind of like a ring road, but that's for purpose of, we do have bus pull-offs, and I know there's a special name for them, my bus people. The architects have a special name for them, but there's a pull-off, like a lift where the buses can pull and they still can go around. So this will keep the traffic off the streets. And you'll see this model in every building we're building. It's called stacking, where we'll be able to, keep cars moving and off-the-road parking. Right now you go to Eastern Heights and they park out on Garford, I believe, waiting for students.
Yeah.
This is great.
Maybe you could show them where there was going to be an access road there just
Yes.
for service vehicles, but
If you know where the park is,
expense prohibited.
and Mr. Ellick, you'll know, because I believe it's by one of your former residents, there's a pathway
Right.
into the park by East Rec that was going to be an entrance, an exit, a service, but we don't need that
Okay.
at this point, and it's a lot of money to put into making it a road.
And that's a fine example of a value engineer that doesn't affect your school.
Right.
Okay.
That's part of
great.
the value engineering. When these prices go up, that's something you can eliminate and not feel any pain.
I know residents they thought
gonna
there
love
was
that.
one going there, and
Yeah.
they were
I
mad.
don't know why they wouldn't want their food trucks every single morning through their side of their house, so that won't happen.
And we have to keep in mind
And
different
I think
starting
that's why we're
times.
mentioning it now for anybody that
Right.
was concerned. That's not going to happen.
Good.
What is the status of the rendering for the last building?
Westwood?
Westwood.
It's on paper now as floor plan, and as soon as I think the superintendent agrees to how she'd like to see the flow of that going, she's brought in her department. I heard nurses, I heard
We've been
phys ed,
meeting.
I've heard teachers, we have a new curriculum director.
I think it's
that's,
almost ready.
Involved. They're getting pretty close. Then from there, they show you how
Go
the
through
walls
the
look,
Ds.
and I'm going to make a guess of August-ish.
Oh, great.
You'll get one of these September at the very latest, probably August.
Yep, yep. We were talking about breaking ground in early fall on several of the Eastern
Yeah, we talked about
Heights.
Heights
Yeah.
being late this summer, maybe you need a groundbreaking.
Wonderful.
And for Westwood, you don't want to have it too, I think the one at Hamilton got a little too much space and we made people nervous. We had a groundbreaking and the ground got broken. So it's better to break ground after
Closer.
you have a groundbreaking, just political reasons.
That means you're done, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Rigda? No? Great. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for the
Rigda.
opportunity.
Thank you very much,
It's a
Paul.
pleasure.
Appreciate the update, appreciate everything you and Superintendent and your team have done. It's a very exciting time here in Elyria Schools, and can't wait to see these buildings completed. Okay, moving along on the agenda, we move to Superintendent. Madam Superintendent, your action items today.
Okay, first of all, thank you, President Elick. I would like to recommend for your approval then the payment of the following stipends, and you'll see several stipends coming up for summer work throughout this agenda. It's for camp. Also, to approve the purchase of purchase order to CDWG for Chromebooks and licenses for the middle schools. What we're doing is there is a new requirement for air testing, so the ones that are at the middle schools are moving down to the primary grades, and we're swapping them out for the newer ones and trying to make sure we still use and are fiscally responsible. Also, to authorize a 5-year school bus transportation services agreement between the Elyria City School District, Board of Education, and First Student for the period of July 1, 2019 through July 30th, 2024, with a mutual option to extend the agreement for an additional 1 year, as reviewed and approved by the district's council. Also, to approve the Meta Solutions Master Service Agreements and schedules for fiscal year 20, as detailed in enclosure K4. To approve the overnight athletic field trip for the EHS boys basketball team to attend their camp at Findlay they go to annually. To approve the 2019-2020 ESC County Service Agreement contract for services provided each year by the ESC of Lorraine County. To approve the 2019-2020 Jaworski Physical Therapy Athletic Training Services Agreement, as detailed in enclosure K7. To approve the Student Summer Work Program as detailed below. This is part of that transition grant we've been mentioning. And that concludes my items under Superintendent's actions.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the superintendent action items?
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8 at this time.
Okay, I have a motion to approve all but item 7. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second for all items but number 7. Any questions, comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll on items 1 through 9 without item 7?
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve item 7 on its own?
I'll make the motion.
A motion by Board Member Gebhardt. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Bax. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll on number 7 alone?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mr. Brubaker?
Abstain?
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Any superintendent other items today, Madam Superintendent?
No, but I do have quite a few personnel items.
Imagine that. Huh?
Imagine that. It's that time of year. So you'll see. And we do have a few of the new employees
wonderful.
here tonight.
Okay.
So first, I would like to approve the retirement of the following certified staff. Katie Mayer, she's an OT, occupational therapist, has been with the district for 16 years. Also, to approve the resignation of the following certified staff. Both of these ladies are moving out of state. Well, one's going to Cincinnati, one to Florida. So we wish them well. They've been great employees since in their few years here. To approve the appointment of the following certified staff, mostly tutors, that will be there for next year, and we do have one new teacher there at the bottom. To approve the payment for 10 days at the employee's per diem rate for training and transitioning prior to August 1st for Natalie Matthews. That's, she's going to work 10 days in the end of June, beginning of July, to transition into her new position in Elyria. Next, to approve the payment for up to 20 hours at the employee's hourly rate for providing additional student scheduling and enrollment. We do this as a service to our students and parents so they can, if they move to the city during the summer or need help with their schedule, they can come in. To approve the supplemental contracts of the following certified staff. To approve the unpaid leave of absence for the following certified staff as detailed below. To approve the retirement of the following security officer. We wish Mr. Sword happy time in his retirement, police officer. Also, to approve the appointment of the following classified staff as detailed below. To approve the continuing contracts of the following classified staff as detailed below. To approve the one-year limited contract of the following classified staff. And to approve the stipend at a rate of $20.80 for up to 80 hours for the training as new building support associate over at Westwood. Kathy Cunningham will be taking Diane Schott's place, who retired. To approve the unpaid leave of absence for the following classified as listed below. And that concludes all of my personnel items.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel action items?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Karstoffen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Gebhardt. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. It looks like we have a other personnel.
We do have
Item
another,
today.
and I have a feeling there'll be a few other comments.
Okay.
So, no, to approve the appointment of the following certified staff as detailed below. We have Donna Bax as a home instruction tutor.
All right.
That's it.
Do I have a motion to approve the other personnel item recommended?
I'll make the motion. Just
Thanks,
because it's
Mike.
late.
Okay, since
Second.
it's late, Gebhardt will make the motion, and then I have
Second.
Brubaker with a second. Any questions or comments? With
I have
none,
plenty of comments, but I'll abstain from that as well.
Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Abstain.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Superintendent report today, Madam Superintendent.
Before we move on, I would like to welcome Lindsay Whitaker formally to the Elyria schools. If you want to stand, Lindsay. She actually has been a parapro in one of our preschool rooms all year, but she was an employee of the ESC,
Okay.
and we wanted to hire them as our own.
Welcome.
So,
All right.
welcome, Lindsay. All right, and then superintendent's report. Real quick, I just want to thank everyone for all their hard work, especially Mr. Brown, who's here tonight, and Mr. Kokai, and Marty and Amy Higgins for all the hard work that goes into graduation. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And the weather was great. So also would like to mention that the endowment golf outing was a hit.
Yes.
I enjoyed it.
Yes, it came off really well.
I won, yes. Well, I didn't win. I just drive the cart and putt a few times, but my team did. But so it was a great outing. I think it was successful.
Do you recall whose team won?
Yeah. My stacked team, no. And then just wanted to wish everyone well, a wonderful end of year, lots of parties, lots of happy little faces running around the school buildings. Boy, we're truly blessed with the staff and the families and the students we have in the city of Elyria, and our teachers and staff do a phenomenal job, and the administrators, and happy and safe summer, and we can't wait to see everyone in August again.
Great. Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Okay, moving along on the agenda to the Board of Education. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the board members to attend the Urban School District Advisory Network meeting on July 10th, 2019 in Columbus, Ohio.
Move to approve.
Motion by Board Member Bax. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Gebhardt. Any questions or comments?
Do we know how many will be going?
At this point, I do not believe we do, but we will let you know.
Okay.
We know one.
You know, I'm going for
Yeah.
sure, definitely. I'm excited.
Okay. Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Okay. Any other items for the good of the cause by this group?
Yes, Mr. President. To the superintendent, can you give an update? I know you and Mr. Kermy and some other folks have worked on the rules, if you will, for posting out at the stadium, for utilizing the track for the public. I get, because I walk out there myself, and people have asked, and I don't know if we've done anything formal to tell the public that it is available under the right circumstances.
Right. We kind of did what we call a soft opening. We did post a sign out there and have kind of let it go word of mouth first because we were waiting for the punch list to be finalized out around the track and the field house. We didn't want to ignore that piece that they were still working on parts. But I know that Amy Higgins and Jake Carmody are working on doing something a little more formal with getting the word out there. But again, that was intentional. And it's Monday through Saturday. And I believe the hours are, I want to say...
7 a.m. to dusk.
Yes, because I note that Mr. Brubaker walks there often. One of these days I'm going to show up. But yes, it's I know there are a few people utilizing it, and it's a great thing to have for the community to use and following through with our promise to make these facilities community friendly.
Mr. Gebhardt and I showed up, but it was well before 7 and it was locked, so you know, to use it. But,
Let me
okay.
know, I have a key next time.
Okay. All right, great. Also, too, Madam Superintendent, could you work with Mrs. Higgins and Mr. Rigdon, his recommendation of the school's potential open houses, put that all together.
Absolutely.
And keep this governing board posted on how that is all done.
Absolutely.
Other items?
Mr. Bazinski? Backstroke, back dive, and rowing?
I will give you the backstroke and I will give you rowing. Back dive, I can't do.
What was your third?
Back dive.
Back dive? What is
What's the question?
That's the question.
All right. With no other items here, I'd like to request an executive session for the purpose of considering the employment, appointment, or compensation of a public employee or official with no action to follow as authorized under Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22.
So moved.
A motion by Board Member Brubaker. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Board Member Bax. Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries, and there is no action to follow.